What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of The Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Thomas. I'm your host. It's wonderful to see a lot of our regular friends in the Zoom room. I want to welcome all of you who are watching on all the different Facebook groups and pages. Thank you to John and Summer Raymer for getting us out to all of you. And welcome our friends on Conscious Awakening Network, Humanities Team, Alan Steinfeld's YouTube channel, and all the other places that we're going out to. You know, about 25 years ago, I did a very powerful journey, and my goal was to determine, who am I? You know, it's the great question that we always are asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I really? And I was very blessed to get a very clear answer. The answer was, I am an agent of change through the power of love. And you know, ever since that first time I heard those words in my own inner guidance, and I've every now and then when I'll check in, who am I always get the same message. I am an agent of change through the power of love. And so, of course, I've come to start seeing the world in that way and recognizing that so many of the people that I collaborate with are agents of change. And honestly, I think most of them are agents of change through the power of love. Well, we had Lori Spagna on the show quite some time ago, and she was one of those people who's like, I really want to have more time with her. So we've been trying to find the right time, and finally we found tonight as a date. And I asked her, what do you want to do as a topic? Because as you're going to meet her, she's very diverse. And she said, you know, maybe talking about being agents of change. I said, yes, let's make that the topic. And so that's going to be the topic. And then I thought about who is an amazing agent of change that I know. And right away, I thought of Piper Dellums. And on very short notice, Piper agreed to be with us. So we're going to spend time with Lori and Piper, but we always like to get the show off to a rollicking start. And here's the man who's an agent of change through the power of love and music, our beloved house musical artist, Omar Shard.
I'm not too sure about the rollicking start, but namaste, everybody. And I wish I'd have read the handbook when I first came into this incarnation, because on the bottom it says, the only constant is change. And it's taken me a while to get on board with that one, but I know that it really is the way to stay present right now. And so let's do a little bit of rollicking whilst, hang on a minute, I keep on letting people in. Scott, let people in.
I'm letting people in. I'm letting people in. Don't worry about it. Just play music.
I know. I need to.
I got it covered, pal.
What's this feeling deep inside of me? New adventure, a whole new journey now that I see, and my head's above the waters. I am new, I am life, I am everything I dreamed of. Whoa. Look what's happening. The giant's awake now. His eyes are open, seeing into the dark of the night. I see glory shining through me. I am here, come to me. It's an open invitation. Whoa. What's that over there calling to me? Mystery beckoning. Could it be destiny? It's my life, it's my waking dream creation. I am clear, I am free, I am joy in incarnation. Whoa, la-la-la, la-la-la, la-la-la,
Perfect. That's all Twinkle on Mashar. It's been a twinkle all of you for getting up and moving and grooving and dancing. Thank you, everybody. And I noticed that, first of all, Mashar, it's amazing how every week your backgrounds become more sophisticated, more dynamic. And I love this new one where you kind of introduce us to your album. And so how do we find his album? We go to omashar.com, and we scroll down, and we go to Bandcamp, and because that's the best place to get his albums from. And I think you said that this was from the album This Beautiful Garden.
You are right. That is correct. And the reason the Bandcamp is it's one of the only online retailers that gives the artist over 70% of the money that they get back into our pockets. It's amazing. So thank you, Bandcamp, and thank you, Scott, and thank you all of those who are
providing me with my first electric car. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be getting a lot more on Michelle later on in the show. Now, I'm going to go to Lori and Piper in a moment, but because you are our closest family, I want to share with you something really, really cool that I've just recently learned. As most of you know, last weekend I was here in Las Vegas. I'm actually still in Las Vegas, attending the Stairway to the Stars conference. And I really wanted to introduce my friend Danny Sheehan to the Twin Ray, because I really thought I just got the hit, they need to meet each other. Well, they met briefly. I introduced them to each other at the closing night banquet, and they decided they wanted to see more of each other. So on Monday, I brought Danny over to their hotel room, and we spent the day together. Now, many of you probably had heard that the Twin Ray had just gotten back from a peace tour where they went to 5 different countries. They went to Mexico, Puerto Rico, London, England, the Vatican, and then to Israel. What I didn't know is that Danny Sheehan has also been working with the Vatican. Now, most of you know Danny, he's been on the show, but for those of you who don't, he is like the attorney for our tribe. Goes all the way back. He was top of his class, Harvard Law School, Jesuit, went through the Jesuit school. And then he was the person who supported Daniel Ellsberg with the Pentagon Papers case. He then broke the Iran-Contra affair. He was Karen Silkwood's attorney before she was murdered. He has been the person representing the indigenous people, the Great Sioux Nation at Standing Rock. And most recently, he's been representing the whistleblowers coming out of the Pentagon with all the disclosure about UFO crafts. In fact, he testified before Congress in March, and he's part of a group of people that are selecting the commission that are going to literally be responsible for announcing disclosure of the whole UFO field. What I didn't know, I knew all that, what I didn't know is that Danny's also working with the Vatican because they're trying to figure out how they're going to frame this extraordinary life-changing awareness that we are indeed part of a galactic family. And so it was really exciting because the Twin Ray had just met with the Vatican, and Danny's working with the Vatican. And what I learned is that in the next year, probably it's going to take just about a year, there is going to be the great reveal. And yes, somebody just wrote Pope Francis is a hero, and he is. Pope Francis wants to use this to bring all the world together, to say, look, it's not about, Catholic is beautiful, Buddhist is beautiful, Hindu is beautiful, not to have separation of religion, but to use this to really create one great human family. So it was exciting for me to see Danny and the Twin Ray coming together and comparing information, and kind of the Twin Ray from their perspective of being visionaries, and Danny from his perspective as an attorney working on the front lines. And that leads us to tonight's topic. We all are agents of change. This is it. We're living at a time where humanity is facing the greatest problems, and we also have opportunity to the greatest solutions. And so we're going to hear from Lori Spagna and then Piper, how they're showing up as agents of change. But then we want to hear from some of you. Pop in the chat box, or even perhaps we'll hear from some of you who may want to speak, how you're showing up as agents of change. So we're going to start by going to Lori. Again, as I said before, she was kind of the inspiration for the show. For those of you who don't know Lori, she's a best-selling author, speaker, spiritual catalyst, intuitive guide, mentor, multidimensional channel, animal communicator, energy healer, visionary, light worker, and starseed. She's transformed the lives of thousands of humans and animals. I love the animals part, via her channeled ascension guidance and her sacred energy healing, and so much more. So, Lori, welcome back to the Awakening World.
Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm grateful to be here and grateful to all of you for being here too. Where do you want me to start? What do you want me to
Well,
just start with?
Yeah, what does
Change-
being an agent of change mean to you personally? When did you first perceive of yourself that way, and how did you work with that way of thinking?
Yeah, all right. Well, so I'll go a little bit into a little about my background and how I first started to recognize. But the main thing I think that's meant to come through, I'll just say, just to start, is that um, as channel and really allowing consciousness from the so-called higher or pure realms to come through, divine consciousness. The thing that I think that's really meant to come through about this, and I'll say a little bit about me, but is that we are all agents of change the moment we take 100% responsibility for ourselves and our lives, and for healing, resolving, transmuting whatever it is within our own unconsciousness that is allowing us to perpetuate a state of to perpetuate what I might call the old paradigm, or what we might refer to as our own unconscious playing out in repeat pattern, right? So the moment we decide to, as an individual, to transform ourselves by taking responsibility for whatever it is in our reality that we're experiencing that may not be what we might say our most benevolent best or the best version of ourselves, that we are willing to do the self-reflection that is required for that, because this is the biggest thing. Self-reflection is required, that we are transforming reality, because what's coming through channeling is that when one person is positively uplifted, one person or one animal, the whole of humanity is uplifted. Just one. So each of us can uplift humanity by transforming our own self. We don't necessarily have to have a world stage, or we don't necessarily have to be, on a summit or on a show to do that. And by contrast, when one person or one animal is brought down, in other words, harmed, or something is done to their detriment, the whole of humanity is brought down, because we're that connected. So it behooves us to begin to recognize how we can be positively uplifting others as well, whether it's just through kindness or compassion or some form of service or contribution, whatever that might be. So I think that's where the basis of that idea of, how we can all change and be change agents came in. Just a little teeny bit on my background. Is that all right that I started there?
You're doing great. Yeah. Tell us a little
Okay,
bit
good.
about your process.
Yeah. So my story started, out of college. I spent 20 years in corporate America. And in those 20 years, I was so misaligned that, when you're out of alignment with your soul's highest agenda, all these things start happening. And I was like, I started smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. It built over the 20 years. I was drinking excessive amounts of alcohol. I was drinking excessive amounts of coffee. I couldn't get awake in the morning. I couldn't go to sleep at night. I drank beer all night. And, I was way overweight. I had like 6 figures in credit card debt on like worthless spendaholic, to try to pacify or placate myself. I was doing all those unhealthy behaviors. My hair was falling out. My thyroid was off. I was going to doctors. They were pumping me up with massive pharmaceutical drugs as a way to, it was an excessive amount of drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, like unnecessary. And then my brother died. This is what happened. That was my catalyzing agent. That was like the thing that woke me up, right? And so very quickly after his passing, I started getting messages from him. I didn't really, up until that point, I only knew myself as I used to describe myself as I'm very perceptive. That's how I described myself up to then. And I didn't really realize it was like dormant psychic abilities and dormant intuition that wasn't cultivated. I would never have known back then that I was part of what you call the indigo family tribes or the indigo races. I didn't know myself as an indigo child. all I knew was I was getting messages from my dead brother, Jeff, right? And it took me a year to unpack that. And during the course of that year, I started getting more and more messages from like dead family relatives. And I say that word so casually because we know in these communities there's no such thing as dead in that way, right? So I don't mean to sling a word around like that, but and then very quickly I quit that 6-figure job, and that was killing me because I was on the hamster wheel, slave driver. I was miserable. I was crying every night. And I started working with animals. I became a dog trainer. And I right away started hearing the animals and the dogs with the dogs initially. And they would say, we're going to teach you. Listen to us. We'll teach you. We're here to help the humans. So that became like very quickly, I was working with dogs and their humans. And the dogs were telling me everything about their humans because they were here to help the humans. And I just got more and more into the esoteric, right? I started getting into the healing arts. I got my Reiki master, and I started studying energy and how to work with energy. And what ended up happening was I was living in Hawaii for 2 years, kind of very remote on my own with very little connection with people for most of that time. But I was working with a teacher, a mentor who had lived in the Himalayan mountains for many years. And he was teaching me about energy. And I was in a small group of people. We were learning it. And what ended up happening was like through those 2 years, the dog that I had at that time, who was like my most beloved companion, she transitioned, crossed over, died. And when she did, I just went into the class with my teacher and I was like, please, can you I was in so much emotional pain from her loss, from the loss of her. And by the way, my ex-husband at that time, he was divorcing me because he wasn't into any of the woo-woo. He was like, that's just too far out for me. So I went into that class and I was like, please help me know where she is. And I think now what he did was he put me in the middle of a circle, and I didn't know this back then, but in unpacking it, I think this is what he did. He probably, because he was so good with energy, he activated the DMT in my brain. Mm. And I had like what you would call a near-death experience. And I met up with my dog and all these beings, and just all these wild esoteric things were happening to me for so long. So that was just one of them. That was a catalyzing, all of those were catalyzing agents, right, for my own awakening journey. And then, that's a whole story in of itself. But then I was meditating through the night because that's what that teacher would teach us to do. And one night, 2:00 in the morning, I'm meditating through the night, and lo and behold, I get a ship, right? I have a first contact. This is all like pre-2011. I didn't know what those ships were. I didn't know anything about star family races. I didn't know about extraterrestrials. I wasn't studied in any of this, but I had a first contact experience. So that just all catapulted me. And that's where it all started. But even after that ship experience, then it became like, that was just foundation for me. That was just like the foundation for me to start bringing forward what I was really here to bring forward, and doing the work that I'm here to do to assist others in awakening and to support the evolution of humanity, to support and assist what I call the light, and my role, fulfill my role in God's plan of light of creation. So that's my story. But I just finished with this one little last piece, is that when all that happened, I was at that point, I had spent 20 years out of college trying to get my life together, which was just not happening, right? It wasn't happening. But then within 2 years of me getting rightly aligned with my true role in God's plan, I say God's plan of light of creation, all of that stuff was gone. Like the alcohol, the cigarettes, I lost all this weight. I never needed another pharmaceutical drug. I have not taken a pharmaceutical drug, not taken an over-the-counter drug. I almost never drink alcohol, not because I can, or I just don't have no interest in it. Quit smoking. The credit card debt was gone within 2 years. I even got letters from the banks saying, we forgive this debt. Like, that's unheard of. And this is the kind of thing that happens when we align with our soul's highest agenda for us. And even if that's not the same exact languaging, it's really when we align with our role, with what we're really here for. And what ends up happening is all those aspects that are that are misaligned, that are causing us various forms of pain and suffering, sometimes very quickly and sometimes more slowly over time, but they all start to leave us because all those things are just energies that are not our true alignment with our source. So
Beautiful.
that is my short, long story.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're going to have a much more Lori. And, we're almost at time for our evening meditation. As all you know, every night, 7 nights a week, we offer an evening meditation. It's part of the Global Peace Tribe and the Twin Ray community coming together. So I think what we'll do is we'll go to Nicholas in a moment for tonight's meditation, and then we'll go to Piper after that and hear Piper's story, because Piper's got several stories about how she shows up as an agent of change. Nicholas, if possible, when I do turn it over to you for the meditation, there's a way that you can include people dropping into how have they answered the call to be an agent of change, or what does being an agent of change mean to them? If we can use some of this meditation time to reflect on that, that would be wonderful. And I do want to open it up to all of you to, throughout our evening together, drop into the meditation, tune in, but then pop into the chat box the ways that you show up as an agent of change. And I'll give an example, since Eleanor Joy already gave us one way that she does that. Eleanor Joy just wrote, "What I notice about myself and others is how easy it is to slip into judgment, and that's lowering our frequency. This is also partly how I can be an agent of change, to be curious about another and not judgmental." Yes, Eleanor Joy, that is such a beautiful and simple way that all of us can be agents of change. Noticing, when am I being judgmental of that person? When am I, falling into that person is bad or stupid or wrong? And we do it all the time. Be curious. Why does he think that way? Why did she say that? So that's a beautiful way to be an agent of change. And I want to just all of us send a lot of love to Terry Russo, who put in a very, very vulnerable share in the chat box. And Terry, we love you, and we want to support you to find your way so that life is much more in alignment and enjoyable for you. And I want to acknowledge Terry is a nurse who does a lot of giving. She gives all day long. So God bless you, Terry. All right, I want to welcome all the people tuning in through our Twin Ray family, and I'm going to turn it over to our beautiful, beloved brother Nicholas, who leads our meditations on Wednesday night. I can tell he's at the Haven in Ashland, Oregon. And welcome, beautiful, beloved brother Nicholas.
Hey, Scott. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a great honor and privilege.
And before you start the meditation, when did you first become aware that you were here to be an agent of change? How does that show up in your life, Nicholas?
Yeah, well, I'll get straight to it. I was really inspired by beautiful sister Lori in what she shared in being so authentic and real. And there's something about one who can face those shadows, the depths of all that stuff that we don't want to look at, to say simply, and work through it. For me, my awakening happened in jail, where the big boom, remembrance of who I am, what life is about, happened, where I was fighting for my life, basically. And that's a whole another story, but there's something about this experience on this earth of sometimes the suffering is truly, maybe always, the greatest gift, and it cannot be understood or comprehended by the mind. It can only be healed and brought back into wholeness through the love of the heart, as the Twin Ray teaches always, that only love truly heals. And so the practice of meditation is that act of self-love, because to love thyself is to know thyself. When we truly know thyself, we know that we are none of that stuff, and we can let it go. It's already been forgiven. We're very wise in this group. I know we have many tools, but the practice of meditation should be as close to us as brushing our teeth every morning, tying our shoes, on and on, until it becomes ingrained in us that we come into a space where we are meditating without meditating. Words are just words, but true experience to live in that way. Take someone like Lori, who dedicates her life to doing whatever it takes to be who she was born to be. So, yeah, that's what I'd like to share and invite into the space. That if we truly, sincerely pause and stop and listen, and we're ready to be who we are, that's available. But we have to give ourselves that grace, that space to go within, in a way to be selfish, to be full of ourselves. For what else are we to be full of but our true nature, and let that other stuff go. So let's invoke that with this meditation, coming into what we would call an ancient way of prayer, posture of peace, using the palms. Let's see. Good. Okay. The palms will be facing up and slightly at about a 40-degree angle, like you would see branches of a tree. Let the fingers be together and the thumbs spread wide. Let the palms be facing up, like the act of receiving, up to the ceiling, up to the sky, up to the heavens. And let the arms, let it be out. So you're making like a V with the arms, a 60-degree angle for victory. Maybe go within. Let the eyes fall closed. Connect to your breath. Feel the rhythm of the breath. And begin to tune in. And the way of the meditation is to just allow, to be with what is. There's no fixing. Nothing is wrong. It's a pause, like sitting by the side of a river, watching the water go by. Be the observer. Tap into that sweetness, that still point, and drop the rest. Breath after breath, moment to moment. In this time we have together, may we invite our presence fully, wholly, unified in the field of love. May we open the space of grace. May we truly, truly be open to the possibility of miracles. What does that mean to you? I say, to be an agent of change, you are a miracle. To do this work is a miracle. Feel that within you. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just this act of pausing is enough. Breath after breath, moment to moment, here and now. Bowing the head, opening the heart. Allowing what comes to come, allowing what goes to go. Pause, sit, be still, steady, see what remains. The spaces in between. Be in your body. Feel this posture. Feel yourself like a chalice. And what if it was as simple as just being open, willing to receive, to step back, to listen, to feel. Feel this posture. Breathe with all your heart and invite in that which is real and sincere to you. Begin to activate this a bit more. Press the tip of the tongue to the upper palate, to the hard palate. Focus the gaze of the eyes to the crown, the 10th gate. And visualize and connect to the energy, the radiance of the sun. And invite in this ball of light, this warmth, this radiance of the sun in through the crown. Let it trickle down like honey into the mind, into the bones, the organs. Breathe in this warmth, this nourishment. Just in this moment, may this warm honey, may it calm and soothe any worries, any doubts, any separation. Just be totally absorbed in the present, in the heart, breath after breath, moment to moment. When you feel content in the subtle fulfillment, invite a gentle, beautiful smile onto your face. Recognize you've made the choice, you've taken the responsibility to answer the call. Recognize you have arrived, and all that you need is within. Will we trust? Will we surrender all the way? Will we see it through? The meditation supports this commitment. Way. And then again, returning.
Oh. I'm in the middle of something here.
Take a deep breath in. Let the palms unite at heart center. Pressing the tongue, rolling the eyes up. For 3, 2, and then sigh out as you relax everything. Relaxing down. Softening, softening, softening. Contemplate yourself. Beautiful. We'll begin to seal up the space, uniting in prayer mudra. And to crystallize, let the palms come up to the forehead and seal up your field. Close it down. Give thanks. And as you feel complete, slowly rise. Release the hands down. Slowly blinking the eyes open. Coming back. All right, blessed be. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And thank you for sharing with us a little bit about your life, about your history. I didn't know that particular part of your story. And so thank you for sharing that. And, you know, again, at any time we can increase our commitment to being an agent of change. And thank you for the reminder of the value and the importance of meditation. Thank you so much. And you are always such a wonderful inspiration, really, to all of us. And a reminder, everybody, that you can do yoga with Nicholas live in Ashland or online. He does offer online classes. I've put his email address into the chat box. And for those of you watching on Facebook, come and join Global Peace Tribe. Come on into the Zoom room, and then you can get his email address. So it's also his name, Nicholas Tale, N-I-C. Oh, now I need to read it because I will read it for those of you. So if you're watching on Facebook and you want to reach out to him, I just put it in the chat box here too.
Nicholas Dallas.
Is that, I never know how you pronounced it actually.
Yes, Nicholas Dallas.
Nicholas Thalas at Gmail, and that is spelled NicholasThale.
Yes.
S, and that's Nicholas. And thank you, Nicholas. I kind of got lost in your meditation, so I started to come back into my body and be a good host. So thank you.
Love you, brother. Thank you
Love
so
you
much
too.
for having me.
See you next Wednesday.
Have a great evening.
Okay, good night. All right. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that. Now that we've all kind of dropped in even deeper, I get to turn it over to one of my absolute favorite human beings. One of the great joys of my life are the people that I get to meet through the awakening world. And Piper Dellums is not someone I've met in person yet, but I can't think of anybody that I haven't met in person yet that I have more respect or just heart connection with. She is an extraordinary woman. And she's had quite a life, and it's not always been easy. Piper is the daughter of one of the great congressmen of all time. He was the mayor of Oakland and a long-term congressman, Ronald Dellums. And Piper has carried on, really, her father was a great visionary, and she has carried on in so many ways. Film producer and director, screenwriter, a public and inspirational speaker, a host, an advocate, an author, a survivor, a corporate therapist, specializing in some of the most difficult issues: elder abuse, child abuse, domestic and sexual violence, addiction, trauma. She's worked with some of the hardest things that people deal with in life. She has truly answered the call over and over and over to be an agent of change. So Piper, thank you so much for being with us tonight on short notice. And I'd just love for you to share with the audience what it's like for you when you answer the call and the challenges you go through to answer some of those difficult calls.
Well, I am on the verge of tears because of the meditation with Nicholas, and it's so beautiful to see all of the faces of now what always consistently feels like spiritual family. I'll tell you what was going through my mind listening to your definition, Scott, and the definition of everyone that has presented. I was returned to childhood. I was actually separated from what would be considered the work that I've done in the world, internationally and nationally. I was asking myself the question that you that you asked, how do you know, when did it start? When did I become an agent of change? And when was I cognizant of that? And for some reason, it took me into the little tiny forest across the street from my home in Chevy Chase, Maryland, where it was rescuing a baby bird that had fallen from a nest. And these little tiny expressions and experiences of compassion, of helping a child in the classroom who maybe was the child that was teased, always being present, being filled with love, being a visionary for those without vision. And then it brought me into this moment when I was maybe 7 years old, and I heard my father crying in our basement, and he was sobbing, and somehow it woke me up. And I'm sorry, I'm getting like emotional about it. My father and I were born 11 hours apart. He's my soulmate. I feel like my very best friend. I feel like we must have traveled and been in love and tried to change the world in a million lifetimes. That's my heart and soul connection. And I went downstairs, not with a cognitive understanding that he was holding the trauma of the world, and that he was holding the pain of human suffering, of the ERA movement, of the Jim Crow South, of gay rights, human rights, environmental issues, the work that he was doing with Cesar Chavez, trying to end apartheid, trying to ensure that there were reparations for Japanese after the internment. These were all of the things that were spoken in our home consistently throughout my life. And though I didn't have an understanding of the political foundation as a child, I understood that it was a necessity to help others, that human rights and social justice, that this was a foundational necessity, that we were in a oneness, that we were family, despite our race, our religion, our culture, our titles in the world. And I don't know what was gripping his heart, but I know that he was feeling emotionally crippled. And if I were to reflect on how he reminded me of that before he passed, I think it was we had tried to take a trip to Disney World in Florida, and we had driven from Washington, D.C. to Florida. And every time we would stop, looking for a motel along the way, they would put up the no vacancy sign the moment my father or mother or we would step out of the car because of the color of our skin. And I remember walking into a little cafe with my mother and father and my brothers. My father actually waited in the car. My mother wanted to take my brothers and I to the bathroom and to get a cup of coffee from my father on that route. And I remember standing by my mother, and she was drawing us in really closely, and she was terrified. And we didn't really understand why. And the gentleman behind the counter put a loogie, a booger, whatever, blew into the cup and poured the coffee and threw it in front of my mother. And then a number of men stood up, and we recognized that we were in probably a Klan territory. We had stopped in the wrong area. And of course, they were third generation Berkeley. So I don't know that we knew that we had stopped in the wrong area, but it was this real terrifying decision to get us ushered out of there and into the car. And my father had to do a confrontation that I don't think I understood. And by the time we made drove ourselves to the happiest place on earth, it was maybe 105 degrees, and my father had on shorts at a tank top, and they wouldn't let him in because they said that it was offensive to have a Black man with that much of his body exposed. So we had driven all of this way. He was in Congress and we weren't allowed in. So later I found out that that was the reason that he was sobbing so desperately in the basement, that although he was putting forth every effort in the world to change the world, he couldn't even open the door to Disneyland, to Disney World for his children. But I didn't understand that. But the memory that came during that meditation is I climbed on his lap, and he was in the basement in the dark. And I said, Daddy, what's happening? And he said, it's okay, baby girl. I don't know if I can protect you, something like that. And he said that I grabbed his face with both of my hands and I started kissing him. And I said, but we're Dellums, Daddy, and Dellums are survivors. I think I had heard he and my mother say that. I don't know if I understood it, but all of those years later, he said, this was one of the most poignant moments of my life as a father because my baby girl was cupping my face and calling me back to life. So I tell you that story to tell you that that was probably the seed of promoting for me as a child what it meant to be an agent of change, to be present, to be able to give love when it's needed, to understand the falling of tears, the shaking of hands of an adult, of a child, even if you didn't understand the situation, but to be ever present. And I think that's what led me through doors of making sure that I was saving children from human trafficking or women from domestic violence, or going off and building, the first 40,000 Black homes in South Africa after the fall of apartheid with my husband, or taking Russian persecuted Jews out of Russia and moving them into Israel. I covered the bombing of the Kenyan embassy through film and through legal and medicinal for 5,000 Kenyans that the world forgot about when the 14 Americans died, when Osama bin Laden let off that bomb, building AIDS hospitals in Congo, all of the grand work. But I would say that the greatest moment, or the greatest way to be an agent of change is sometimes giving a smile, paying for groceries for the elderly person in front of you when you see them counting pennies and knowing that that is not enough groceries, making sure that the homeless person on the street is not just getting a nickel, but that you're praying with them, that you're sitting with them, that you're letting them recognize that they're human, they're still in the world, although we're ignoring them as if they no longer exist. Sometimes it's just giving an embrace, being present, and also having the dialogue within ourselves to be able to pull our strength out of nowhere when change that's happening in our own lives becomes too much and we're crippled by it and we're out saving the world and then we can't save ourselves, to be able to have that genuine connection with the soul, with self. And I think it's that perfect balance between the two. But that's what came to mind, what came to heart. And I agree with you, Scott. To be an agent of change is to be rooted in love, to be rooted in compassion, to be present, to know that we are one family, and to know that the genuine connection, the genuine love of peace and truth in the world should come with ease. And if it doesn't, that we make that ease happen, and that we're aware of what is around us and who is in need of our love at all times.
Thank you. Beautiful stories. And of course, never ever apologize for your tears. Your tears are beautiful, and tears are always welcome on this show. I always tell my clients, it's not only is it okay to cry, if you don't cry, I probably will. So, because tears just show that we're tapping into deep truth.
And here we all are. Each and every one of us has walked out a desire to change the world in every breath. And and I know that we're all feeling crippled right now in the world because there's so much going on. And yet we have to keep reminding ourselves that even just this precious moment together and shifting the frequency and vibration, we are being agents of change right now. Right now.
That's right. I'm going to read a few comments from our audience members, and then I've got a question for both of you. Adrena Joy down in Ecuador writes, thank you for the great sharings. So my 3 realizations about being agents of change have been very important in my life and my transformational journey. 1, change, like healing, comes from within. 2, change becomes more powerful when we move from I to we. The spirit of Ubuntu comes to mind. And 3, we really are the change makers we've been waiting for, and now is the time. A lot of people appreciating both of you and Nicholas. A lot of comments like that. Giving thanks for for Nicholas's meditation and each of your vulnerability. Adrena Joy also wrote just now, what a beautiful story, a motive, sharing, and powerful testimony, Piper. Thank you deeply for living your truth and being such an amazing agent of change, rooted in love and action. So, question to both of you: How how do each of you play your roles and do it, make sure that you're doing it with the spirit of love? Both of you are very, very multidimensional, both as beings. You're both aware of your multidimensional self, but you also play many, many roles in life. How do you manage such different roles and kind of shifting from author to director to advocate? For you, Lori, shifting from animal communicator to author to teacher, changing those roles, staying with what life is calling upon you in the moment, and then doing it with love.
Mm.
I'll have Lori answer first, and then we'll go to Piper.
Well, for me, I never feel challenged. I don't feel challenged by that. I don't feel crippled. I feel that I feel that I am aligned with my source, and that everything, all of I'm not aligned with my source every moment of every day in a conscious way. Like the human part of me does still sometimes sort of step in more, like gets frustrated or gets upset or challenged by things. But more and more, I find that I'm just at one with my source. So I don't feel challenged in that way. I feel that because I have worked so much in my journey to bring that through in service and contribution, and to allow my source to flow through me and to clear out those aspects of my own the traumas that I've, because this is what I think this is part of what's come through tonight, is that it's clear humanity is carrying a lot of traumas. We're here to resolve those. And as we do resolve them, I don't think that we continue to carry those forward into the future. So for me, I feel that I'm more unified with my multidimensional aspects of myself. And so in that unification, there's not really for me a part of me that is struggling to be this role or that role, because those are all parts of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Those are me existing in a unified way with the whole of the multidimensional aspects of who I am. And in truth, we know this, right? This is true, right? Every label that we put on ourselves, whether it's animal communicator, channeler, healer, woman, man, father, son, daughter, sister, brother, like those are just labels of how we identify in the world. But in truth, the highest truth is that regardless of all the labels that we place on ourselves, the more we are embodying the energetic of that divine source that is infinite, it's infinitely flowing, it's infinitely supplying, it's infinitely rejuvenating, replenishing. That is what is coming through. So the greatest challenge that I have generally, I think I hope I'm answering your question, but is just more making sure that I am continuously keeping myself realigned, in alignment with that source, rather than letting myself get drawn into the day-to-day traumas. I'm not here to add energy to the traumas and the chaos of life. I'm here to bring forward the energy that is available from the non-physical realm, so that this energy can do what it's here to do, can transmute the density that's no longer necessary for us in this experience, the density that has caused and contributed to pain and suffering for so many beings, that is not meant to be part of our future. Once we recognize we don't have to keep bringing the balls and chains from our past into our future, it's time for us to recognize we can let that go. We don't have to carry the wounding with us. And I understand we need safe place to process. We need safe community. And at the same time, when we are ready to let that go, we won't bring it forward into the future. We won't keep recreating that. So for me, that's where I'm coming from. I just want to bet to the best of my ability to be the energy and consciousness that source would have me be to support and assist whomever I'm near in whatever environment, or if I'm working remotely or, through time, space, reality, right? To transform whatever densities exist so that they don't have to contribute to pain and suffering for us any longer. I'm not saying that that's an overnight process. I'm not saying that that's like, I hope I answered your question, Scott.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting a chance to get to know you and, hearing you speak. And we're all on this journey. We're all kind of lifting each other up. And on this show, it's an opportunity to meet other people that are committed to an awakening world, playing their part, playing their role, and learning how each of us are doing it, including the challenges and the bumps, because we all still hit bumps, we still hit challenges. So
yeah, and I'm not suggesting that those bumps are part of the journey, and there's always some kind of gift in those. There's gifts for us to receive. The gifts of the traumas, the gifts of the challenges are for our evolution, our growth. And there are always, the gifts are consciousness expanding.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
the only question that I have, I think for anyone is, this is for each person to decide for themselves. This is a question every person must decide. And this is what happens when we take full responsibility for our journey, which is what I opened with, was that it's up to us to decide as individuals, when am I willing? When do I think I will be ready to release and really let go of the pain of the past, replace it with the gifts, whatever those gifts of consciousness are, that are right for me, so I can free and liberate myself from the pain and suffering, and so that I can bring forward something new. Because that is what the new paradigm is about, right? Whether we call it fifth dimension, or, I usually refer to it as new paradigm, but the new paradigm is about us creating something brand new. And we all know that we're the ones we've been waiting for, right? So what does that mean to us? If we're the ones we've been waiting for, that means we're the ones who get to say there's something new coming, and we're the sacred government.
Mm-hmm.
We are the sacred government. So we're the ones who get to say, this is the new reality and the new paradigm that we're going to have. And we get to choose, who do we want to be and how do we want to show up? And I guess I made a decision in the last few years, especially for myself, where I was like, wow, I just want to be done with the pain. And I know I don't have control over that all the time. And I know I don't suggest that anyone's perfect, least of all me. But I just know that this new paradigm for me that I want to create is one where I'm anchoring in the divine virtues, the best version of me that I have always aspired to be. And that includes the behaving to the best of my ability as the greatness that the divine has for all of us, whatever that greatness is, the magnificence. We are magnificent beings. We all are. We are beings of love. We know that. All of us in this space know that, right? We're beings of love. We're beings of joy. We're beings of consciousness. And so I just decided for myself, I was like, to the best of my ability, that's what I'm going to bring through. And that's who I'm going to be. And yeah, it wasn't an overnight journey. It wasn't without its trials and tribulations. But I guess what I'm saying is that we've had so much suffering, and I started to realize, I learned this from the animals. The animals have taught me over and over again, from like years and years ago. I'll never forget this. This has happened over and over again, but this one particular time, somebody posted something. It was just a horrible picture of an animal, so much pain. I was on the floor in fetal position for like a half an hour, in so much pain, just at the sight of this image on Facebook or social media. And as soon as I got, like, when I got through, like, the just enormous amount of pain of just seeing something like that, I came, kind of started to get coherent. I, clear as day, I just heard the collective of animal consciousness come to me and say, we have told you this. Please do not share our pain because it is too much for you.
Mm.
Instead, share all the greatness of us. Share the good things. Share our progress. Share whatever goodness is happening. And it was such a core lesson for me because animals have always been my teachers. But I really realized it's like we really can't take on much more pain in this world, but we can add more joy. We can share more love. We can become better versions of us where we are positively uplifting one another and where we are recognizing our brilliance, our magnificence, our potential for sharing so much more light and revealing more of the truth of who we are, who we all are, the magnificence of us.
Mm.
So I guess that's what I'm doing my best to be more of.
You're doing a great job, Lori. You're doing a great
Well,
job.
thank you.
Dia Therese just wrote, Lori, I am enjoying immensely how you're giving voice to truths that announce many we humans no longer needed to participate in. Susan Bloomquist, of course, saying yes, moving to the positive. And Grace Denise wrote down a quote from what she just heard you say, quote, to be the energy and consciousness source would have me be. Wow. So our audience is certainly enjoying you. And of course, we'll come back to Lori in a little bit, but we're going to come back to Piper in a moment. But I want to read a couple more comments, including a pair of comments, Piper, from Karen that was inspired by what you had shared. Karen writes, my family and I had similar experiences traveling in the South when I was young. Once my father was detained for perhaps an hour or so while we waited in the car because the policeman who stopped us checked to see if a Black man could legitimately afford to drive the type of car that we had at the time. And Susan continued writing by saying, Karen continued writing, this happened in the middle of the night in Mississippi in the early 60s. My entire family could easily have been killed and nothing probably would have been done about it. So thank you, Karen, for sharing that all too familiar story. Full of other comments, and then we'll go to Piper. Diara writes, understanding the deep, deep empathy for those we see and feel suffering, and also being able to access the unity spot with Source as well. Grace Denise writes, synchronicity. Sister Jenna was just talking about this, beautifully inspiring and empowering. Sylvia writes, some of the ways I'm a change maker, communing with trees, sharing come union through videos and photos, sharing the origami that I fold as holding prayers.
Nice.
The viciousness of capitalism and the brutal conditioning of consumptive individualism and the density of the current society. That's right. Reverend Jeffrey reminds us, as always, Source is a river of Levolution, and we are all in our Levolution canoes flowing with the universal Levolution. Thank you very much, Reverend Jeffrey. And Jeffrey also writes, every time I run into Lori, I am inspired. And I believe we both live in the same area, Jupiter, Florida. Connie Baxter Marlowe writes, yes, Lori, I love what you're saying, describing the high frequency to where we are headed as we feed the collective with our vibration. So thank you. All right, Piper. Same question that I asked Lori.
You're going to hate me. I'm having a middle-aged moment. Remind me of the question.
I was going to.
Okay.
The question is, how do you manage all the different hats that you wear, going from a child abuse advocate to an author, to a producer of a film, to a speaker, to a mother,
Mm.
How do you manage all those hats and
Well,
being an agent of
mm.
change in each one of them?
Well, that's a really great question. So I have actually produced and directed 7 films. I have 15 published books. I am a UN delegate commissioned on the status of women and children around the world, and I'm a drama therapist. So, and a mommy. I think that what she was saying is absolutely true. It's the mother in me has worldwide arms and compassion and love and familial adoration and a need to heal the children of the world, because the children of the world are my children as well. The woman in me has a necessity to heal the women of the world. Because they are my sisters, my mothers, my grandmothers, my aunts, the earth. I have a desire to heal the earth because this is the source of all aspects of my being. This gives me breath and substance and food and sustains us all. It is our great mother, and I walk this out through the arts. The greatest language for me is in recognition of all of creation being the greatest artist. So I try to mimic that by painting my experience, my wisdom, things that are gifted me through lyric, through words, through essential imagery. So that becomes film and literature. I am a survivor of child sexual abuse because of a babysitter, starting at the age of 4. So it's a part of me, it's a necessity for me to help children through sexual trauma. I am a survivor of domestic violence, so it is a necessity for me to heal women that are going through domestic violence and other forms of abuse. I am an African American, Native American German, which is, this very beautiful Berkeley embrace. My children are Jewish, so we are literally the United Nations. My husband was a second generation Holocaust survivor. So of course I'm going to have an embrace for all of humanity because it is all of me. It's just a natural part of who I am. And I know that we are in a very quick journey on this earth. I know that there's not a lot of time, and I know that I have limited skill. And what I have in my hands is what God gave me. So I attempt to utilize what I have in my hands, what I have in my heart, my abilities while I'm on the earth, and use that to the best of my abilities. So I'm an artist, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, I'm a creator, I'm a therapist, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm an advocate. And really that's just who I am as a human being. And so I don't find that it's a challenge. I ebb and flow with the seasons. I ebb and flow with how the poetry of the experience of the moment, what is needed in the moment. And I simply say yes. And even in the moments when I'm saying no, internally, when I am too broken, when I am in fear, where there are fires raging, where tears are flowing, where knees are knocking, I find my way readdressing that yes. I do pick up my bed and continue to walk. And I just attempt to say yes along the way to whatever it is that's before me. So I'm not a great master of anything. I just am a person that says yes to humanity and yes to God, yes to creation, yes to myself. I want to leave an imprint in the earth.
Beautiful, thank you.
So I say yes.
So I'm going to bring you both back up, and here's the next question for both of you. How are you doing with balancing self-care and care for others? Because I observe that people that are as dedicated to planetary awakening and especially dealing with some of the very difficult things that both of you deal with, how do you do with managing self-care? Because I think that's where sometimes we can struggle. And once again, I go with Lori and then to Piper.
Well, yeah, that's definitely been an area of challenge for me. I've found that first of all, just in numerology alone, if you my birth month is the month of 6. And in numerology, the 6 is kind of is known to be like the giver, or the one who is taking responsibility and teaches others how to take responsibility. And literally that's kind of how I started, right? So I think that's been a great challenge area for me in this lifetime, because I have not, there's a lot of humanity, a huge part of humanity right now that is leveling up right now and starting to really shift out of I, me, mine, we know that, and into us, we, ours. And they're realizing, the collective is realizing, maybe not the whole of it, if you look at the whole of the collective, but a huge percentage of the collective is realizing it's about service. They're waking up to this. And this is so beautiful, but that wasn't one of my lessons in this lifetime. If anything, my lesson was like, how do I take care of myself and my needs and not put someone else's needs ahead of mine to my own harm or detriment, right? Because the truth about service is that we're meant to serve the collective without harm or detriment to self or other. So that has been quite challenging for me. I have found myself, and if you want to talk about wounds, I will say that's probably where some of my greatest wounds were, that I've had to really clean up over the past few years, was where I felt that I was giving so much and the imbalance got to such an extreme that I had to start being mindful, like what's going on in this relationship dynamic, or even in my life where I'm just doing all the output, right? And because I've gotten so good over the years at replenishing my energy, always staying unified with my source, connected with my source, and refueling through that infinite supply that is infinitely available, it was easy for me to always be a giver and not necessarily put my own needs first, or not necessarily say, wait a second, this is starting to feel not so right. But I will say that has been such a huge growth area for me in my life. And I've noticed that when I finally, only in the last few years, started to learn healthy no's, which was really challenging to learn that. It has balanced off much more for me. And I've come into the realization, like, this is a thing, right? We're all meant to be of service and contribution, but never to the harm or detriment of self or other. So that was a big learning for me. I'm starting to do it much better now, I think.
Thank you for sharing about it, because it is important. And I do note that most of the people that are contributing at the level that you and Piper contribute at, self-care can be a challenge. So Piper, what do you have to say on the topic?
Oh gosh, what do? I blast James Taylor, in boxer shorts while I plant massive gardens. I feed the animals, I take trips, I give myself ridiculously long massages, bubble baths. I eat naughty foods and also really healthy ones. I hang out with my kids. I love to play tennis. I love to bike ride. I love to ski. I love to giggle and hang out with my friends. I find ways to take care of myself by being surrounded by beautiful people and surrounding myself, in the world. I just came back from Colombia, and then 2 weeks before that, I was there for almost 3 weeks. Before that, I was in Costa Rica, doing medicine work with shaman, with indigenous nations. I love to fill myself back up with indigenous medicine, with poetry, with film, with lovemaking if I'm in love, with really just enjoying life, running with my dogs, really trying to find joy, and crying if I need to cry, and screaming if I need to scream, and just feeling everything and valuing my imperfection and valuing just the beauty of beingness. And yes, setting boundaries and saying no when I can, but I don't like a lot of no's because I'm one of those people that thinks I'm going to miss out on something. I'm like, what if I say no? What if I miss out on some divine connection? So I really love saying yes. And even, sleeping in and being super, super lazy if I want to, because in 8 days I'll be 58. I think I deserve long naps, although I am up at 6 a.m, which is another part of being 58. So I think what I do is I enjoy life, but mostly I enjoy mountains and rivers and dogs and planting big gardens and, really good music.
Absolutely. Well,
Does
that's
that
a
make your
lot of-
birthday? I'm sorry. Does
My
that make
birthday's Thanksgiving,
is that the 28th is your birthday?
23rd,
I don't even know what
and my
day.
father's on the 24th.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
So
and
the
he was born
23rd,
on
right,
Thanksgiving, and I was
23rd.
born on Thanksgiving. Yes.
And you know what? It's 10:23 right this moment the 23 minutes after the hour. That's
Oh, I love that.
your
Yes,
magic
I'm
number.
gonna be. Yeah, my mom said I was the last turkey left in the window.
So 23 is the healer of earth number. And you mentioned how much you love Mother Earth.
Oh.
23 and 5 is the healer number. And
Thank
it
you
is
for saying
5 is the freedom fighter.
That is me.
That is you.
I mean, I literally built, like, I have to tell you the funniest thing, and I know that Scott has to go. Every time I move, and I have moved a lot, and every time I move, I don't take my furniture. I get a moving van and I take all of my plants, all of the trees, anything that I've planted, no matter how long I've been here, because I'm so worried. What if the person that shows up next doesn't play music and water them and love them? And they're needing me. They're like my children. So when I moved here a few years ago, I filled up the moving van with trees and plants. And the guy kind of looked at me and he was like, "Are you taking furniture?" I was like, "Whatever can fit." And really nothing can fit. So I had to sort of let it all go. It was and I showed up in this huge house and all I had was an air mattress. And I had to repurchase everything because my plants were the most important thing. Because they're family. So thank you for sharing that with me. And I only took my home because it had an Unkamaki ancestral tree in the backyard. I had a redwood tree with a hawk's nest. And they were like, "Do you want to check out the house?" And I'm like, "Does it matter? I have a redwood tree with a hawk's nest." I have an ancestral tree in my garden. Like, the rest is easy breezy, but So
Yeah.
I love hearing that. I did not know that, but that is
Yeah,
me.
5 is also, by the way, 5 is also the author. The author. I mean, you're an author, right? 5 is an
Okay,
author.
you're like my new
It's a-
favorite best friend. So
it's a
call me
traveler.
privately and let me know all about me. That's really cool.
That's
Thank
just your
you.
birth number too. I didn't even do all the other ones, but that's like
Ah.
that is the core of who you are.
That really is
Awesome.
really cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. That was a
I'm
good one.
looking up
People
to
are
see-
always healers. They're always some kind of healer.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Scott. That felt like a birthday present.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. So here's
You know
what we're
about your
gonna do.
3 days of power too, right? Do we have to go? I don't mean to
No, no, no.
interrupt
That's okay. Go ahead.
because your birthday's coming up. You know, your 3 days of power. Do you know about this?
No.
Oh my God, everybody's going to love this. So the day of your birthday is the day when the Son of God shines on you, the Son of God. You're the Son of God. The Son of God is over you, the Son of God, right? And in astrology, your sun sign is lined up directly overhead as the sun, but the day before, the day of, the day after, those are the 3 days of the year that are your most powerful days because the sun is charging you, like amplifying and energizing you for the year ahead.
Ooh,
So
I love this.
yeah, so those days are the days to be bringing in whatever your power is and to be asking God like to fuel you for the year ahead, whatever your endeavors are meant to be. And it's a great time for manifesting or journaling, meditating, whatever it is that's going to support you over the year ahead as you bring forward the light of the Son of God into the world. Your light.
Okay, this is going to be the best time I've ever made Thanksgiving dinner ever. Because I never made Thanksgiving dinner as the light of God as God
Oh, that's awesome.
while I'm manifesting. No, really. I mean, my pie is going to be brilliant. Thank you. No,
Yeah,
really,
happy
really fed my
birthday.
spirit. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I know, I'm all excited. I feel like I'm 12.
No, but you know what? It's so funny because in our world, we're sort of taught like, oh, it's just your birthday, dismiss it. And then there's the whole genre of like, you don't want your birthday because you're getting older, all that stuff. That's like old paradigm. New paradigm is like celebrate you. Celebrate
Absolutely.
you, the child of God, right?
Absolutely. I love that it's my birthday, but now I love it so much more. I mean, I know this is true. I am being really authentic in saying this. I never knew that. Yeah.
Well, good. Now you're gonna really even your year ahead. If you really think about it, because what you focus on during your birthday is what you're gonna be focused on a lot over the year.
So somebody who's going to fall in love with me, who's 60 plus, is coming into my life as I cut my turkey. It's happening. It's happening. Thank you. I'm manifesting love. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you in a little bit, Piper. Here's what I want to do. I have one last question for you, Lori, and then we're going to take a look at your website. And my question is because just before the show started, when we were all on, we all had our dogs with us. And we're all dog lovers. My audience knows my girl, Jasmine Bear. Lori's got a beautiful King Charles Cavalier. Lori, what's something you can share with us in terms of animal wisdom? You've referenced a few times, how animals are your teachers. What are some pearls of wisdom from the animal world you can share with us?
Well, the one of the first things that's lighting up, I love this question so much because the animals have so much wisdom. We don't realize because their brains and their consciousness works somewhat differently from ours. Not the consciousness, but we're left analytical brain thinkers, and they're right experiential brain beers. So their reality is, it's like we judge them as lesser beings, but in truth, they have so much awareness that we haven't really fully tapped into yet. But one of the biggest things I would love to share, other than what I said earlier, like sharing the good things that are happening, the way humanity is helping animals more, like share their good stories and joys, is the recognition that the animals are embodying the divine virtues that humans are learning. And so that we're learning to embody and bring forward. So for example, one of the favorite divine virtues of mine is the divine virtue of magnanimity. So magnanimity is the ability to love what we perceive to be unlovable. Some people in what I refer to as the old paradigm might call that unconditional love. But really, in the old paradigm, that's kind of ridiculous because we can't love unconditionally as a 3D human. We have too much emotional baggage, right? But we can love with magnanimity. So magnanimity is like we can love all, even if we don't necessarily, through our lens, perceive all to be lovable. We might not perceive it to be lovable, or we might have some judgment, or we might have, but we also know and can embody with our whole being that everything is lovable and everyone is lovable. Yeah. That's magnanimity, right? And if you love an animal, you totally get it. Like the animals that are brought into prisons, great example, how they heal the prison inmates and they help, or animals who go into hospitals, they're not doing any judging. They're just being magnanimity. So in any case, if you love animals, you can learn all of the divine virtues from the various animals. So for example, and then I'll pause here because I know there's like a next segment or wherever we're going next, but like sharks, they are teaching how to be fearless and how to get rid of unnecessary fear. And recently I was learning this lesson about how it's such a simple lesson and yet so big. If you take a shark and you put him in a fish tank, he can only grow to 8 inches. He can't grow any larger. But if you take the same shark and you put him in the ocean, he can grow to 8 feet.
Wow.
Like that's because he's fearless. But if he's just kept small, you see, this is like humans. If we're kept small, in our old paradigm, we can't become the greatness of who we are.
Absolutely.
But if we put ourselves in environments that foster our growth, our expansion, our upliftment, and let us live without fear, we can all grow to the 8-foot sharks that we're meant to be and live without fear.
I love that. We'll come back to Lori in a moment. We do have a question for you, Piper. So I'm going to add you here.
Okay.
Grace Denise asks, Piper, how do you organize your time and set your priorities each day and each month?
Oh, wow, that's a beautiful question. I really am in alignment with what I'm called to do at every given moment. It's almost as if the priority is set for me. I am up with the rise of the sun, and I'm one of those people that if it's on my desk, I complete it. And I know that if it's on my desk, it's because it is in that perfect time and season. I don't believe in procrastination because I'm always worried that I will run out of grace. What is the grace of the moment when something is in front of me and I'm called to present it, to write a song, to make a film, to direct, to edit, to write a book, to teach a class? My greatest fear is not being in the moment that the great divine higher consciousness being that I know is God is asking me to do it. And I've always had this such an honor and adoration, respect, and powerful love for God that when something is presented, I want to be respectful and honorable enough to prioritize it in its immediacy. It's just sort of who I am. And so I prioritize by what is placed before me, because I do believe that the seeds that are placed in my hand are placed in the exact proper season to cultivate and to water. And I've been very blessed that I am not only able to do so, but I'm able to do so with fluidity. I've had days where I have to do a show, and then I have to edit a film, and then I have to be the CEO and create programs or define curriculum. And there's always enough time, and there's always still enough time to be a great mom, to make sure my dog has a good hour walk, to stop and spend time in the garden, to burn sage and copal and find my spirit, to meditate. There's time for God. There's enough time in every day for everything that needs to happen. And I believe that things happen like pregnancy in their season. So I don't rush anything. I don't give myself a deadline. What I do is I pour my love, my time into anything that's in front of me. And it's the priority of just saying yes seems to manifest it all for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, here's the last question of the night, and then we'll take a look at your websites and then close with a Namaskar song. It's a question from Darina Joy. What has been the hardest thing to change, and how have you managed to change that? So we'll go to Lori first and then to Piper.
Oh, it's such a good question. Wow. Well, I think in general, the hardest thing to change is like those patterns that I think we all get stuck in, but I'll personalize it. But we get in patterns that are just so deeply, we call those sanskaras. They're just so deeply wounded aspects of us that the patterns play out, and we don't always even catch ourselves when they're going on. But I will say for me, there have been two. The first was just healing, the wounds of the family dynamic. And that took me almost like most of my lifetime. But I'm really happy to say that for the past few years, I have just, I really have transformed that with the family dynamic. And most of my life, I used to just like pray, like, how do I get along with this family? I'm like the black sheep, and they're all really 3D. And that was really challenging. Those were karmic relationships for me. And I'd never thought that the day would come that would be healed. But I was relentless on my healing journey with that. So I'm really happy to say and proud of the inner work that I did to transform that relationship. That was those relationships. That was really hard for me, very painful, just because, and it's a testament that the healing work works. Healing is not just about physical issues. Healing is about, really transformational, deep inner transformational work that isn't, it's not just about the physical experience. It could be about relationships, could be about money. It's about any area of our existence where we're not living in alignment with our most benevolent, best life path and trajectory, right? So that was a major one. And then just one other, I'll just say real quick, was that I've been in the Lightworker, star seed ascension community for a very long time. And I was very challenged for a lot of years because I felt like there was deeper work to do that wasn't always being done, because we, so many of us are here to bring in love. But I also saw the deep need within the community for healing and transformation that goes way beneath, way deeper than surface level stuff. And I was very challenged by that because I felt like, we needed to go. I feel that a lot of times we need to go deeper than just, the surface level of let's just bring in love and light. And that was quite challenging for me because I could see it, and I sometimes wanted to call it out, but not everybody really wants to hear that. And there's part of the codes in my own DNA, in my own script, in my own purpose for being here of divine truth. So it was very challenging. That was really challenging for me. And I finally realized that is part of what I'm here for, is to facilitate for the people who really do want to go deeper than the surface level. And not everybody does, and that's okay. And I had to come into the realization that for the people who really want to go deeper, that was one of the things I was capable of assisting and facilitating with. And I so honor the healers of the world, because I recognize, there's all different ways of doing healing. There's all kinds of healing work, but the healers are the ones who are willing to work with the shadow aspects of our existence, to work with the pain and trauma, to transmute it, and to go to the deeper levels. And I just respect and honor that. So it took me a long time to sort of realize, just because it's a love and light movement doesn't necessarily mean everybody's looking for that or everybody wants that. And I had to work through that. It was quite challenging for me. But now I'm really in the recognition, we have different roles. We have different roles. And I respect that, and I'm grateful.
Wow.
I just spent much of the weekend with the Twin Ray, who are two people that I really respect and admire a lot. And they spoke a lot about that have compassion for the homeless, have compassion for people with drug and alcohol issues, but also recognize that who we surround ourselves with, especially socially, the 5 people we spend the most time with are who has the greatest influence with us. So to create that separation of knowing when we're in service to the less fortunate and maybe the less conscious, but also to make sure that we are spending our quality time with people that raise our vibration, and finding that balance. So now I want to share with people how they can get more of Lori, and it's her website. And her website's very easy to remember because it's her name, Lori, spelled Lori Spagna, SPAGNA.com. I accept your cookies there, Lori.
My business coach told me, you got to put that on there. It's the law. I'm like,
absolutely. Thank you.
I'm in a new paradigm reality, but I do like that people get to choose. So
your cookies are yummy. And when you guys go there, get her free gifts. So I'm going to go there first Lori, what are you offering? And it's kind of similar to the question I asked you, what the animals already know about animal communication. So tell me a little bit about this.
Well, the free gifts, that free gifts is really about unlocking your abilities to connect with animals and use your psychic gifts. There's some other great free gifts too that are that one's there's some audio classes with that. It's very content rich. And then you can also do, if you add DNA onto that, free gifts /DNA, you can get a DNA activation right there, just to the end.
I'm going to do that. Here we
Funny,
go.
that's awesome.
Oh,
Right.
wow, look at that.
People can get
Oh,
a gifted DNA activation there. There's lots of gifts on the whole website. If you do lorispagna.com /free gifts /star seed, you can learn all about your role as a star seed in the Indigo family tribes. Yeah.
wow.
This book and class. And I mean, it's pretty content rich. It's not like, it's not just a PDF. There's an ebook in there. And there's another one for the animal lovers. There's how to help animals on a global scale. lorispagna.com /free gifts /animals. Lots of stuff. There's other ones too. Once you get in there, there's an energy healing list. I do remote healing for anyone who opts in. That's in 100% free will choice. You have to opt in for that one. But yeah, there's a lot of them.
Well, thank you for being
You.
so generous. And thank you for being generous with your time tonight.
Love
And
that.
I'm glad we finally did it. It took us a while to finally get you on the show again. So I'm
Thank
glad
you so
we
much
did.
for having me, Scott.
Oh, Lori, it's been
Grateful.
beautiful. You know, I
And
remember
thanks to
when
Piper too.
isn't Piper wonderful?
Yes. Well, it's
I love you, Lori.
been really a pleasure and a joy.
And such a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing time and space. And to everybody.
It's always a beautiful time with Scott. He surrounds himself with beautiful people.
Well, and Piper, you and I are going to be doing a big show together a week from Saturday night.
Yes.
So give our audience a little bit of a clue about what's going to be happening.
Ooh,
To spend another evening with your dreamers.
with the dreamers. So instead of, well, you can go to it's okay. It's so cute. My daughter's doggy just ran over. I'm so in love with this dog. He must be coming to see Lori. He ran down the stairs. But you can go to, there he is. You can go to isloveretreats.com or healinghotels.com. The Dreamers are an international group of some of the greatest healers in the country. Breath work, IRT, sound bath, indigenous drumming, sweat lodge, intuitive arts, frequency sound healers, drama therapists, art therapists, music therapists, and we have gathered together with a beautiful dream to unify collectively all indigenous cultures from around the world, which of course is every culture around the world, in order to resurrect what we call the second coming of the Christo, the second coming of love and light, which we believe that all of the treasures are in the field, meaning each and every culture of humanity before colonization has a culture and wisdom of healing, of dance, of medicine, of love, of apothecary engagement, of environmental wisdom. And if we are to bring the entire family of man, family of humanity back together with the Mother Earth, then we will be resurrecting the second coming of Christo light God. And without bringing the entire family of humanity together, then we are going to have a crippled second coming. And we know that God is not crippled. So we call ourselves the Dreamers. And Scott has invited us back so that we can dream this collective oneness dream as the family of humanity, because it is a necessity that we come together at this time, that we are not thwarted by the illusion of what is going on in the world, though we also have to stay rooted in our physical incarnation and be of service during times of war and during times of pain and suffering and degradation, but also to hold that balance so that we also understand why we are here spiritually and collectively, and what we're here to move into progression for the next generation and the generations to come. So
I'm pulling up the poster from the last time.
Yes.
So these are most of the dreamers that are going to be with us again on November 25th. And I know that right now Maureen Edwardson is in the
I
house.
saw her face.
Yeah, Maureen is
I
here.
actually texted her. I was like, there you are.
There she is.
There
Maureen
she
the
is,
dreamer.
Mommy Maureen.
And, you know, a couple of other wonderful friends that are with us are, of course, Connie and Andrew.
Happy birthday, Andrew.
Exactly. It's Andrew's birthday on Friday. So let's all take a moment to wish Andrew a very happy birthday. And Andrew, a tradition that I like to foster is for a person on the birthday or close to the birthday, for you to share with us your vision for yourself during this next cycle around the sun. What's the vision you want us to hold for you for this next movement of sun around for you?
Well, Scott, that's a little bit of a call. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. It's really beautiful to see Piper and Maureen and Scott and Omashar and all these beloveds. And yeah, it's not only my birthday, but it's our East Coast celebration of our marriage. So I think most of you know that we got married in Aspen last Christmas Eve. But this time we're on the East Coast, and we have a chance with all our East Coast friends coming together on Friday and Saturday. We've got a lot going on. What's my vision for the next 12 months?
Yes, yeah.
I think I'm going to start writing my memoirs, and I'm going to title it, I Was a Teenage Octogenarian. From there, you know, I'll slowly regress until I'm truly, truly childish and childlike and just nothing but a ball of love, and we'll be just fine. But seriously, the film that a lot of you folks are in is sitting there. We just watched the trailer, the 12-minute teaser with a beloved sister of ours, and she came out in totally in tears. This is Melanie Krasny behind us here.
Who's here for his birthday.
Just flew in from Florida, beloved sister from Sedona, in fact. And life is just extraordinary. The art thing is being very interesting, a lot of fun, it's great therapy, if nothing else. Putting together a photography show, doing beautiful things with Connie over Thanksgiving, and really healing my family is probably the thing that I want to do the most importantly, and probably the most challenging. 20 years into a divorce that is not healed, so it's very tough. So it's to do with healing, it's to do with loving, it's to do with my climate project is taking off in an interesting way, and there's several things that are really starting to bubble that I had sort of put on a back burner, and I've actually got a job. I'm the webmaster for an extraordinary $100 million project that's coming up. That has to do with regenerative agriculture, and it's a project that I became involved with about 7 years ago. Anyway, a lot of really good stuff going on, a really creative time, probably the happiest and most fulfilled, fruitful phase of my life. Somebody whispered in my ear, life begins at 80. Okay, I'm up for that. So that's the best I could come up with in the moment, Scott.
All right, well, thank you. We love you. Happy birthday to you. We will wish you a wonderful weekend.
Oh,
Thank you.
Scott, can I say something to Andrew?
Oh,
Andrew,
you
my
can.
father said on his 80th birthday, the secret to staying young is never embracing the idea of I used to be, but of what am I becoming? Because this is the best time of your evolution. And after being in Congress for 30 years and the mayor of Oakland, he became a professor at Howard University at the age of 80. So yes, it is the beginning of life.
Yep, just
Every day is the new beginning of life. But
just getting started, Piper.
what are you becoming? So yes, I love you.
Oh, I love you, Piper.
I put a link to the teaser in the chat, everybody, so you can watch Piper and Scott and lots of our other beloveds.
You guys have been busy traveling all over the world. When I watched that trailer, it's like, oh my God, there's all my friends. You've been visiting with all of them. It's been very exciting to see. All right, take care. Have a beautiful birthday. And Piper, in wrapping up with you, just for now, we'll be back with you very, very soon. Again, everybody, you can learn more by going to healinghotels.com.
Or
And it's
Piper
all about
Dellis.
dreamers.
Or yep.
Yep, there it is, healinghotels.com, and the dream to unite people of the world. And it's going to be beautiful to watch how this amazing project that you and so many others are doing continues to unfold. Every country, every city, every dreamer. And truly, we all are dreamers.
That's right.
Piper, thank you for jumping in the
love
last minute. I love you so much. And looking forward to doing a big show with you on Saturday night, November 25.
Sounds wonderful. God bless you and everyone.
And of course, we are going to conclude with an Omoshar song. Dia Therese has a beautiful story about her next door neighbor being a dog whisperer. And Eleanor Joy, who is now 81 2/3, is sending a big keep on rocking Andrew. Maureen said we're still looking for that link, Connie, so make sure you get that link into the chat box. Well, it's been another beautiful show, and it's time to go to Omoshar to close us out. Take it away, brother.
Wow, holy smoke. Laurie and Piper, you are my two most favorite new inspiring women on the planet. I have no words for the expansion that's happened in my heart and my mind and my hope and my faith. I wasn't unstored, but I feel even more restored. And so thank you so much. You both rock immensely. There's no words for my gratitude that you exist now and that we are all a part of this new team that are becoming acquainted with each other and learning to trust each other, even though the trust is already here. So thank you so much. And I'm going to complete with a song called Just When, and we'll probably come back after that and go ciao, bella. And love you both so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, Andrew, happy birthday on Friday. Just when you think that all is lost and the curtain looks to fall, perhaps it's just the song of hope that calls, and your trust in life exposed. Sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see. You reflect as me. Another day is here for you to live, and I'll walk it through with you. There is no doubt your heart is pure and true. So I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see. and I'll lift you up. I will fill your loving cup. Just when you thought that all was lost, I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. Adora.
Ah, thank you so much, beloved brother Omar Shar, for just, you bring so much to our show. It's really just, I've run out of words. Thank you.
I've run out of words too, brother. It's funny because I had another song for the end, and this show is so rich. I have to go back and watch it again. It's like a good book that you put it down, you look at a year later, and you think, I missed that. It's you know, the keys to life are right here in this show. Thank you.
It's true. Absolutely. And remember, everybody, we are all agents of change. Omar Shar and I will be back on Saturday night. And boy, we've got an amazing show happening on Saturday night. We're going to be collaborating with Jennifer Hill. She's my co-host, and she's brought all these amazing people on. I mean, it's really going to be an all-star group of people. Roland McCready, he runs the Institute of Heart Math. He's like the guy who runs the Institute of Heart Math. Julie Krull has been doing a show like ours for 10 years. She's brilliant. Teresa Collins, of course, is the creator of Global Coherence Pulse. And we're going to have, in addition to Omar Shar doing music, Nina Gray is coming back. You remember Nina Gray? She's terrific. And then we're going to meet some new people: Brandon Moslin, Paul Zach, Rhonda Vatir, Melissa Bernstein, all new friends coming to the Awakening World. So it's going to be a 3-hour show. We're going to have a KES meditation at the end with Natalie Moesha. So make sure you join us on Saturday night. It's going to be another epic show. And we are all agents of change. Little things like Eleanor Joy brought up, just even noticing when we're in judgment. And of course, some of the bigger life paths that we choose. Thank you, everybody, for being part of our Awakening World. I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful evening. I'll go to gallery view one last time for everybody to wave and say good night. Take care, everybody. Good night.